and welcome to Concert Pipeline. That's Jens Schiffel.
And that is Steve Jones.
And Jens, first of all, we just have to acknowledge that, we are on the eve of a big change in this country, and I couldn't be more excited.
Yes, same here. I am absolutely delighted at the big transition that's coming up.
Yeah, they're bringing the McRib back, and it's been too long. So
it's been way too long. Like, it's been so mouthwateringly long.
Yeah.
And it's been the number one thing I've been hoping for of all of 2020. Like,
right.
When is
right.
that McRib coming?
When is it going to come back? And
Yeah. I'm like, I can't wait to go to McDonald's and see that transition in the menu of boom, there we go. It's on there. It's legit. Get in my belly.
Well, I do hope that McDonald's will consider replacing their current clown with a clown that's leaving office, because he's going to need some work after, all is said and done, right?
That's hilarious. Did you just now think of that, or have you been working on that little thing?
I'm on a roll, Jens. I'm on a roll right now. This is all freestyle. This is happening now in the moment. This is
improv. Very nice.
Yeah. Yes.
Very nice. Yes. I don't remember the last time I was ever at McDonald's. I'm slightly addicted to their French fries. I don't know why, but they're good, and I like their big straws.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
You don't like the two together, right?
No.
Okay.
And right. So, gosh, yeah, whatever. But I hear you. There are some big things happening in the world, including the McRib.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea anything about a McRib and what. So I do. I've not eaten at that shit show in years. So I don't go there. But anyway.
Yeah. All right, moving on.
Moving on.
We have an artist to present today.
We do. I had a chance to talk to Michael Tapper. He's from the band Practice. And we had a really good chat. He has a new album that's coming out in February 19th to be exact, called Not a Game. And he's been in a number of bands over the years. One of the more prominent ones is We Are Scientists. You may know him as the drummer from that band. We talk about that a little bit, and growing up in music, and kind of how he wanted to kind of dive out and do his own thing with this album and get really out there and exploratory. And it was a good conversation. So we'll get into that in just a little bit. But Jens, you did the unthinkable. You took a trip.
I did. I know, this was definitely unthinkable. I mean, out of all the people that are extra paranoid about the Corona-19 virus, I'm probably in that category. But yeah, my wife and I decided to celebrate her big 50th birthday. We did have a small party planned.
I didn't know that it was 50. I missed out on that completely. I didn't know. I guess I didn't know you were the same age as your wife, and I feel like I totally underdid it by just sending her a text now, and I am an asshole. So
don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. Yeah. So she's like what, 6 months younger, I think, 6 or 7. So right, yeah. So she had her big 50. But unlike my 50th, where we were able to do some socially distanced partying in the backyard last June, this time around it was a little different. When we had a lot of issues with another big outbreak of the virus and being kind of on semi shutdown. So we had a little party planned at Mammoth Lakes, but that was quite a bit before her actual birthday. And then as soon as we realized, oh my god, there's a whole other wave of this coming, we had to cancel all that. So we just decided to do something, just her and I, and we got an Airbnb in the Santa Cruz area. It was just south of the city of Santa Cruz. Actually, it's just south of Capitola, but it's still in the county. of Santa Cruz, and it was literally like 2 minutes from the ocean. And it was an older house, real big, built kind of on a hill, and I think it was on about 2 acres or so. And it was a pet friendly place because of our little dog. We had to find a pet friendly place. And dude, this place had one of these huge, really nice, huge fences all the way around the property, like one of these black gate fences, so that you could just let your dog run around free. And it was pretty awesome. And that was the first time that little dog was able to run around and play and have fun in such a big space, and not be on a leash.
Yeah.
And dude, there were gopher holes all over the place. Like little gopher holes. And so we would take walks, and this was like a little park. It was crazy. There were trails that were going all around, and there were benches on the trails where you could sit down, and enjoy the view, and whatever whatever you do on benches in parks, read a book. And
did you read a book?
No.
Oh, okay. Do other people do that on benches? Not you. Got it.
When I think about what people do in parks on benches, I think they read the book, read a book, they read a newspaper.
Very unassuming.
They stare at their phones, whatever. And yeah, so there we were, feeling like, oh my God, we're in this cool little private like park, and the dog finds all these gopher holes and sticks his face like in every single gopher hole that has any sort of scent in it. And he's a partial little terrier, so he's got that that really good nose for mice and rats and gophers and stuff. And it was hilarious. It was totally hilarious to see. So yeah, so we were there for 4 nights. The house was nice and big, and it was just her and I, and we did some we didn't really do a whole lot outside of that little area. So we took a lot of walks to the ocean, and the tide was just crazy. It was one of those beaches, I don't remember the name of it, but it was one of those beaches that is really, really, really kind of flat, right? So when the tide is out, it's really like a big beach, and when the tide is in, it's relatively small. So it was the difference, depending on when you go out there, to hang out and stuff, was really cool. It was extreme. Saw a couple of sunsets. One sunset was, just beautifully set in the sun. Another sunset just disappeared into the fog and it was just gone. But damn, man, I tell you, I forget how intense the moisture is on the coast. It was damp there constantly. Like everything was damp. Like the driveway was damp. The paths in the backyard was damp. Nothing ever dried out.
No.
and it wasn't like it was raining or there was fog or anything. It was just that. It was just so much moisture.
How did the dog like the beach?
Loved it. So he had already had that experience in Bodega, right? I think I'd mentioned that before. That was his first time at the ocean on Bodega Beach. But this was no less exciting for him. He was on fire, and boy, there were a lot of people with pets on the beach. So he got a lot of interaction with other dogs. I managed to lose my glasses. Did I tell you that?
Oh, good. You did tell me. Okay, so you put them on your shirt as you're prancing around the beach.
It was it was like a photo opportunity, right? So I had to hold a leash. I had to hold like a water bottle. I had to hold the camera. I had to take my glasses off. So I just put them, in your shirt like you do. And as soon as all the picture taking of the sunset and everything was done, I completely forgotten that I had put my glasses there. And it was already, dark. So I didn't feel like
feeling around in the sand. And,
well, I didn't feel like there was anything missing on my head because it was dark and I couldn't see anyway. If it had still been light out, then I probably would have realized, oh my gosh, I can't see. Why can't I see? Oh, my glasses, they're not there. They're in my shirt. I better put them on. So right after the photo taking, we did a lot of running around, and I just must have they just must have fallen out.
It's a
But I
good way
didn't.
to get out of having to drive back from the trip.
Exactly, right? Yeah. So my wife gets really worried about, how are we going to get back and stuff, and I just had to remind her that my eyesight isn't, as bad as hers is when it comes to needing glasses for driving. So I was like, don't worry about it. As long as we don't drive at night, we're fine. And yeah, it was fine driving back. But that was the second time I lost my glasses. I thought I had never lost my glasses before, so I was like, that was expensive, but at least I've never done it before. But then my wife kindly reminded me, yes, you did. Remember that one time you jumped you like cannonballed into the lake, this underground lake in a cave. I'm like,
You
oh,
didn't
that's right.
you didn't lose them at a concert, did you? Like once
No,
what
did
was it?
I?
You lost a shoe or something.
I
Did you
lost
lose
my
it?
I lost my
Did you?
shoes at a concert
Okay.
once, both of them, my Birkenstocks.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was nuts. So I had to stay until the concert was over, right? Until everyone left, and then I
Uh-huh.
could go. This was a concert this isn't like a stadium show. This was a concert
Right.
at a university. So the venue was pretty small. It's a gym, and there I am, like looking around all over the place for my lost Birkenstocks. There's one under the stage, and then there's one all the way on the other side. Next to the back door. It was crazy.
Classy. I thought you
Yeah,
lost your glasses once at a concert. I don't know. I guess
maybe I did. They've definitely fallen down before. Yeah, they've
uh-huh.
definitely, like in mosh pits, Floggy Molly and stuff, they've definitely
Yeah.
fallen down. I'm like, oh my God, where are my glasses? And I've just really lucked out by not having them getting trampled on and
Yeah.
stuff. But whatever, So anyway, the vacation was a lot of fun. It was super relaxing. We did a lot of nothing. We had a bunch of flowers. We had cake. We brought all the food that we ate with us. We just
Yeah.
bought it on the way down. And we spent some quality time in the hot tub that they've got there. We were really soaking in the bubbles.
Yeah.
In that tub. Yeah. And it was secluded enough where we just did the whole skinny dipping thing. It's like, why even wear anything?
It's the way
The
to do
neighbors
it,
are so
right?
far away. Right? Just
Yeah.
jump in, turn the jets, look at the stars, play with all the little lights. You can turn the water different colors. Blue,
Snazzy.
is probably the best color. That's my super favorite color for hot tub water. Yellow, I don't know why they would have like a yellow color for hot tub water. Well, who
Yeah.
thought of that? No,
Like,
or red.
this is yeah.
Right, it's like, okay, who peed? Or if you put in red, you got a bunch of women. All right, who's bleeding?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Blue is a safe color, right?
Blue is a safe color. Yeah, green is just kind of weird, but algae like. But blue is fantastic. Yeah, I would say go with blue if you make it hot tub.
Yeah. Well, you need to tell the wife that, okay, we're going to do something big for the 60th. Okay.
Yeah.
And look, and I'm not going to forget, because look at this, watch this. So, hey Siri, remind me in 9 years and 11 months to do something really big for Maria's 60th birthday. There you go.
There we go, on the reminder app. Nice, cool. Yeah, well, we're probably going to end up having some kind of party later on in the year, whenever it's safe to do so. So that's just kind of on hold.
Yeah, we'll bring the water guns, don't worry. So
exactly, right. I'll try not to fall down on the concrete and
we'll do it on grass, because you're both in the 50+ crowd now. So
yeah. I need a nice safe area so I don't lose any more skin.
Totally. Well, good. I'm glad you had a good weekend. Yeah, I got a couple duck hunts left before the season's over, so looking forward to going out this Wednesday, and then possibly next Wednesday, and then the following Sunday, and hopefully bringing home a couple more birds to finish off the season. So
yeah. So your last hunt, you were able to bring in 2 birds, right?
Three.
Yeah. What did the 2 all of a sudden multiply to 3? Because I swear you saw 2.
It was 3.
Are you sure? I swear you saw. Yeah. You said 2.
I did not say 2. Go back to your text. It was 3, and we, as a group, 4. We brought in 12 birds, which is not a bad hunt for a
Nice.
Sunday. So
Yeah, that's pretty
uh,
good.
it was definitely fun, a lot of fun. And so I'm looking forward to
Nice,
another one,
nice, nice.
hopefully.
So
Yeah.
do you know when?
Do I know when? What?
When you're gonna go on your next hunt?
Yeah, Wednesday.
Is
So
it, did you just say that?
I did just say that. Yes, we're winding the podcast because just
Can
hit
we rewind like now?
hit the 15 3 times and you will hear me say.
Oh, that's right. You said Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay, this Wednesday,
There we
like
go.
in 2 days.
Yes, you got it.
See, I was confused because I thought today was Wednesday, but it's not.
I know. We're just so excited about what's coming down
Yeah,
the pipe on Wednesday. So yeah,
exactly. It's that hump day confusion thing. Like, are we closer to
yeah,
Friday or more closer to Monday?
exactly. Well, what we are close to, Jens, is bringing our guest in on the podcast. So I think we should do that now.
Let's do it.
All right. So this is the interview I did with Practice. Here, let's bring him on in.
Hello.
Michael.
Hi, can
Hey,
you
how
hear
you
me?
doing? I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you?
Excellent. Doing well. How are you doing?
Great.
Good, good. Your week off to a good start?
Yeah, so far so good. You know, nice to start with a holiday.
Not too bad, right?
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. And so I want to start with kind of how have you been holding up through everything these days? I mean, it's been quite a year this past year, and how, tell me a little bit about how that's affected you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's been a hard and crazy year. It's been, I really don't have anything to complain about personally. Uh, I mean, I could complain, but, uh, you know, everyone's going through hard things. Um, I think partly why it's been okay for me, or one thing that's been okay is that I got the coronavirus like right away, like in March, because my wife is a doctor and they didn't have any masks or anything at the hospital when it first started, and so she thinks she brought it home, and I got it right away, but it wasn't bad for me. I just had like very mild symptoms. So then it sort of like took the stress off for the rest of the year. Like I'm still conscientious about social distancing and masks and everything, but I haven't really been worried or anything, about getting sick or something. So
Yeah.
that's been kind of nice, I guess, in the midst of it all,
Yeah. And your wife, has she been holding up okay through everything? I mean, being so close to it and so connected.
Yeah, I mean, she's an OBGYN, and at first in New York City, the hospitals kind of closed down everything except for ICU and emergency room and OBGYN because babies still had to be born, but they were kind of
Yeah.
like closed down everything else. There wasn't elective surgeries or anything like that. So she just kind of had to keep going to work the whole time, and was there. And it was, felt kind of crazy there for a while, and stressful. But, after the initial surge, once the hospitals got masks for people,
Mm-hmm.
her coworkers weren't getting sick anymore. At first it was like a lot of the doctors and nurses were getting sick, and that's when she thought she brought it home to me. But then once they got masks and stuff, it was like, it was annoying for them because they have to wear them all day long. but
Yeah.
it got a lot better, less crazy and stressful for her, at least.
Well, that's good. Good. I'm glad you're able to have some breathing room and, be able to get through it. So, that's a positive thing, right? So,
Yeah.
Um, So let's go back to the beginning a little bit. Tell me about kind of growing up. What music were you interested in as a kid, and what? Tell me about your parents' influence on you, kind of musically. What did they
Uh,
have playing in the house?
well, growing up, uh, I grew up in a musical family, so I was playing music a lot. My dad was a music teacher. That was his profession. And his mom was like a piano teacher and played piano and organ, and her mom did too, and a lot of my aunts and uncles. So playing music was always around. I was doing it from a young age. I showed interest in drums at a young age, and my dad brought me home a really shitty drum set that he bought off of one of his students for like 20 bucks when
Wow.
I was 6. So I had a drum set in my room since I was 6 years old, which was really annoying for my sister.
I imagine, right?
So I grew up just always playing and playing all types of things. I was in the orchestra, in the jazz band. I did a lot of classical snare drum playing, and I was in the marching band. I loved playing marching band drumline stuff. And um, then when I went to college, I got into like playing in rock bands. And in addition to like the orchestra and jazz band and everything, I just kind of like played all kinds of things. Um, and but musically, in terms of like what I listened to, it was kind of a strange situation because my parents were very strict religiously and didn't, it was like secular music was verboten, in the house or in our lives. So it was a kind of a weird thing where I didn't like listen to popular music much.
Yeah, but
I
they were okay with you playing drums in the house. Yeah.
yeah, right. It wasn't music itself that was bad. It was like, the satanic rock and roll, and all of the hidden messages and corrupting influences of popular music. So, I did listen to like, there was like Christian versions of everything, I was in a Christian rap from a very young age for some reason. I'm not sure. Sometimes it's hard to know where you get exposed to certain things, but you know, that was a big thing for me growing up, and Christian heavy metal bands. I guess
Yeah.
some of my friends were into that.
I was gonna say, was that a lot of influence from friends and that sort of thing? Like you guys would get
Yeah,
into
and
that?
and we kind of went to this like big uh, church, like this big weird televangelist church, which was a weird situation in and of itself. But one cool thing about it was so big and rich that all the bands would come and play at the church. So like if there was like some Christian rap group, sometimes they would come and play at the church or in the youth group or something, or people would be going out to see them. Bands like MXPX or something like that.
Mm.
That was my first mosh pit. At some point in high school, and you know, there was like, but it's weird. It's like I don't relate to very many people, and those bands haven't really. I don't know. I don't really feel nostalgia for much music, because it was just kind of
Like a part of your life, but you've moved on past it, sort of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and long since gotten into other things, and so it was kind of a process. Like when I left home and then went to college, and then even after college, just like I kind of delved into rock and roll history and learning all about like pop music and rock music and all of this, sort of like as a self-taught history course or something, to learn about it. And then during different periods did the same thing for jazz. And then most recently, like when I was making this record and this music, did the same thing for electronic music, because that was a thing I had never had any interest in, you know, before I started making it. You know, it was kind of like I became interested in it and learning a lot about it. At the same time, I was learning how to work the synthesizers and drum machines and put this kind of music together and stuff. And so it was a really fun kind of like all around total learning, growing experience, like making this record and learning all about sort of like, and trying to incorporate all of the history and everything that I was learning about and listening to into the stuff that I was making at the same time.
Yeah. And so with this album, we can focus on this album for a little bit and then go back. We'll bounce around, but it's fine. But with this album, you I mean, you use primarily analog synthesizers yourself, at least the first go around, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, tell me where that decision kind of came from to go that route.
Well, there's a couple of things. I mean, for one thing, you know, I had tried to mess around, I guess, a little bit with some synthesizer, like software synth in Logic or something. And since I didn't know anything about synthesizers, it just was like, you know, choose this, push this button. Like I had no idea what I was doing. And it just sort of seemed like, I don't know, like I couldn't control anything. I didn't understand how it worked, you know? And so I sort of just kind of put that out of my mind of like using that. And at the same time, in my previous band on this record we made, one of my bandmates like got out his Juno 106 that he loved, and like this, you know, analog synth from mid 80s, and made all these really cool, beautiful sounds. And I was like, whoa, that's amazing. Like, I'd like to learn how to do that. And it's a simple analog synthesizer, you know, not very many controls. Everything's just like on the face. And so I thought that would be a good way to learn how to, like, what it is, you know, how does a synthesizer work? I had no idea, you know? And so I bought one. Well, I wanted to buy one, but they were kind of expensive, you know, like around $1,000 or something. And I was like, that's, you know, I don't even know if I want to use this. So I didn't want to drop that kind of money on just like something. But then as I was looking around on eBay, found there was one or a couple for like $300 because they were broken. And I was like, and I don't know how, I think maybe one post like mentioned this one thing about a common way that they break. And so I looked into that a little bit and was like, you know what, I think I can fix this. So I bought the broken synthesizer, and then like I basically figured out how to fix it. And
I love that, because you didn't even know, you know, how to use the synthesizer at first, but you're like, you know what, I can get this one for cheaper, but then and then actually fix it when
yeah. And in the process, I learned all about how it works, you know?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
then I was like, oh, I get this, you know? And then messing around, then like I learned how to control it, you know, and figure it out. And then, you know, on a side note, since I could figure out how to do that, I was like, I'm going to do it again. And I bought another broken one, and I fixed that one. And then I sold that one, which basically paid for, in total, got it for free, you know, because I could sell it for twice as much as I bought it for.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing that a few more times, like 5 or 6 more times.
And now you have a synthesizer repair shop, right? So
right. But then I realized actually the amount of time I was spending fixing these things was like a very low hourly rate, and it wasn't really worth my time. So I stopped doing that. But in the process, I got really into it, and then I started, you know, every analog synthesizer is a little bit different. Just the parts that they have, and even the functionality and how you can combine things, you know. And so I ended up getting a few more that had different, you know, different control properties and sound properties and stuff, and kind of ended up making a little suite of, it's sort of basically in my mind, like they were my band. I was like, this is my bass player. This is my, you know, like plays the chords and the pads and stuff. And this is going to be my lead synthesizer player. And this is my drum machine. And so I was like, okay, here's my band. I have like basically a 5-person band, but there's 5 robots, you know, synthesizers. And I was like, and so this is going to be how I make this record. And I'm just going to like write all the songs to be played by this group of instruments. Just like if you put a band together and you're like, these are the band, and we get together in a practice space and here's the songs, everyone come up with your part, and that's how we're going to like build a song. Because that's how I knew how to be in a band. Like I've always just been in bands.
Sure.
So I just kind of like took that same mindset, but to my little group of synthesizers.
Well, your way is definitely the safer way right now, right? Like, I mean,
yeah, I mean, it was what I could do at the time, you know, and I kind of, I'd spent so many years being in bands and negotiating all of, you know, the good and the bad things about that. And I was like, I want to try doing something on my own. But sometimes then the possibilities are too great, too many. And it's hard to be like, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to like focus this? So I just sort of came up with that construct of being like, this is my band of these elements, these synthesizers, and I'm gonna put it all together, you know, that way. So
it's a creative way to do it. So, um, yeah. So the album is not a game, and you know you've been working in several capacities on this album for even over a decade, right? Like, I mean, I know there's one song that like started 13 years ago that you've been working on.
yeah. I mean, because I started writing songs just in the midst of being in other bands where like I'd never wanted to write songs. Like I wasn't like, I wanted to like bring the drum element, the rhythm, percussive element to these songs, and I always liked working with other people to like sort of like transform songs into something new. But I never was like, I want to be a singer and here's what I want to sing about, you know. I never felt like a need to be heard or anything like that. So I hadn't really um, tried it for a long while. And then one day I was like, you know, I'm just going to try it. See, I don't know. So it's sort of like getting to this album took a long time. And the first part of that was just the thought, I'm going to try writing a song. What, you know, if I were to write a song, what would I even want to write about, you know? And most of them I just threw away. But there's one or two that I kept from the early experiments in writing that made it onto this record.
Was it easy for you to be able to separate yourself from some of the older stuff and say, okay, this doesn't have a place in this, you know, was that cool?
Yeah, I mean, because at first I was not writing for this thought of like a synthesizer project that, you know, it was just like, I had no idea what it would be, you know, maybe like acoustic guitar or something. I had just, so a lot of the things didn't even really make sense. And a lot of them were just half thoughts and not that good. And I've always kind of, at least so far, it's been kind of not precious about songs that I wrote. It's like easy to put them away and not, and be like, well, that was a fun exercise in creativity. And I, you know, uh, and in fact, I wasn't really going to use any of the old ones. It was just like once it came time to be like, all right, I'm going to put whatever I've been working on together into an album. Then I went back and listened to some of the older stuff, and I was like, you know what? I like that one, and that kind of makes sense with this group of songs. So like, I'm gonna revisit that and bring it into, you know, the modern world a little bit. So, but yeah, it was some parts of it were a long time coming, and sort of like every step of the process started another thing that would be very time consuming. You know, like at some point I had all of the songs written and recorded, and then I was gonna bring them to someone to have them mix it. And then I was like, you know what? Spent all this time doing this, figuring all this stuff out on my own. I'm just gonna learn how to mix it too. You know, I'm not in a rush to put it out. You know, it's just like whatever. This whole thing is just kind of like a learning process and experiment. So then that took like another year of just mixing it, you know, learning it, because I didn't know anything about it. You know, there's so much with EQs and reverbs and delays and just like panning, setting everything in the same space, and then it's just like, it could be never ending, you know. And at some point I just had to be like, all right, that's it. This right here is done, and I'm not gonna mess with it anymore. Send it to the mastering guy, and that's it, you know. So.
And in the process, since this is, I mean, you've been in a number of other bands, but this is obviously a different approach for you. Is it, I mean, was there anyone that you like, or like, you wanted their perspective and their opinion, you bounced it off of and said, hey, what do you think of this? Does it work? You know, and kind of took their feedback in, a mentor or something?
Yeah, I mean, I sent it to a few of my former bandmates in different projects and asked them for their advice, what they thought about it, and you know, where it might fit in the world of contemporary music. You know, because sometimes you get too close to something, especially when it's not something that you have been doing before, and you're just kind of like making it up as you go, and you're like, does this even make sense? Like, what does this sound like to someone who's not me, sitting here for days at a time alone, like doing all this stuff? Like, does it even make any sense? And so yeah, I sent it out to and got good, helpful feedback from several of my former bandmates and collaborators, and then one in particular, Darby Seaside of the Antlers. He was a old friend and former touring mate. We toured, my old band Yellow Ostrich toured with them a few times, and he actually recorded and mixed one of Yellow Ostrich's EPs that we did a number of years ago, and so I went to him and brought whatever state my tracks were in at that point over to his studio, and he got out some of his, he has some really nice synthesizers, and got him out, and I had, and basically like dialed up some really cool sounds for the parts that I had on the record already, and just kind of like ran them through a few of his synthesizers, and I got, and gave me all these like really cool, just like textural sounds, and just kind of like things you can like layer in there, and it's like really beautiful stuff, which was really cool. I think that's probably the only outside, other than mastering, the only other outside contribution of sounds or anything was from that. That was really nice and helpful.
That's cool. So I want to talk to you about one or two of your videos that you put out. So Sleep in My Clothes. That's, I mean, first of all, your videos have a very artsy, kind of unique feel to them, which is pretty cool, I think, which is in line with, you know, the style of music. So I want to kind of know, I mean, with the Sleep in My Clothes video, tell me about kind of your approach to that. I mean, there's a good amount of it. You tag it as like parts of it not safe for work. But so
yeah, you can see my butt at the end if you look closely. Actually, it's right there.
Yeah. It's just right there. So where did that idea come from, and was that like planned to tie in with the song, or?
Well, yeah, it was part of the idea. I mean, I was trying to, at the time I came up with that idea, I was staying at a friend's house in LA, and he has a pool. And I was putting out that song and was like, you know, wonder if I can come up with a music video I can shoot in a couple of days here. And so I was kind of thinking, you know, there was a couple of lines of thinking for it. And one is that just like the idea of sleeping in your clothes is just like, you know, the idea is just that you're wearing clothes when you shouldn't be, you know, you should be sleeping, you know, in your pajamas or naked, you know. So it's like, it starts where I wake up and I'm in all my clothes, but then I wanted to take it to another level of like, what's a time when else you shouldn't be wearing all your clothes and it's weird. And so then I jumped in the pool with my clothes on, you know, so it's like kind of just want to play with these sort of ideas of being clothed when you're not supposed to be and then being naked when you're supposed to be clothed, you know, just kind of like just trying to play with some visual elements that were fun and weird and funny, you know, and I don't know. I always try to, when I'm thinking of video concepts, music video concepts, trying to like elicit some type of emotion, or just make someone feel weird, you know, because that's not easy to do, I don't think necessarily. Like it's easy to just be nice, or I mean, that's not easy to be nice, but I just feel like the things that I enjoy seeing are things that like kind of elicit emotion from someone, you know, and things that aren't just like, oh, this is supposed to be sad, but like actually make you feel weird. Like that's what I would like to, that's what I like to go for when I'm making a video. So, you know, hopefully it makes you feel a little weird.
It made me feel weird. Yeah. and you kind of have the you kind of have the weird vibe in your "I Saw Love" video too. Kind of, you know, using some elements that you had at your disposal with the cabin and the skeleton and everything, right? So
yeah, that's often what I do when I'm like, I want to make a video, and then I'm like, what is around? Like, what can I do with what I have? I mean, that's sort of just like my whole life. And this band is like, what can I do with what I have, you know? And then I try to do something, you know, and I always appreciate that, and having constraints like that. I think when I see that with other people making art in that way, you know, it's like having those kind of constraints can spur you into creativity out of necessity, you know. It's sort of like, in a good way. It's like, because it's enjoyable to see someone being creative and be like, how, you know, how are you going to get out of this one? Oh, look, they thought of that thing. They did that, you know. It's like all over life. It's like that, you know. But so anyway, yeah, that's I did that with the I Saw Love video, and just kind of, yeah, trying to use the elements, the things that I have around me in, you know, to build something that, that works for the music, hopefully.
Yeah.
And
So
makes you feel weird, ideally.
So tell me a little bit about your time with We Are Scientists. How long were you in that band?
I think I was in that band for 7 years, or something like that. We went to college together, and we started the band when we were in college in California, or at least I was still in college. Those guys are like a year ahead of me. The other two guys, Keith and Chris, and so we started the band there, and then when I graduated, we decided to move to New York City, together and try to make our band, have our band, you know? So that was in 2001. We moved to New York City and just kind of like played parties and shitty clubs and just kind of like learned about being a band and making music, and, you know, just kind of like made records in our friends' loft spaces, or like, you know, just kind of like, that was back when you would print up CDs and hand them out in front of the shows of bands that you liked.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
try to get their fans to listen to you, and then they would say no, they didn't want your free CD. And
It's like we're not even charging you. It's like,
yeah,
you're free. Can you at
yeah,
least take it and make us think you're going to listen to?
yeah. But yeah, so I was in that band, and then we just kept playing and making records, and then we ended up getting signed to Virgin Records and they put out a record, and we went and started touring in England, and it got really popular in England. And we basically were just on tour for like 2 years, nonstop, just like England, US, Europe mostly, but all over the world, Japan, Australia, Indonesia. But then kind of after a while, I just didn't want to be there anymore, and it was just kind of like, you know, things that happen and whatever. It felt unhealthy, and so then I left that band and then joined another band, some friends of ours, Bishop Allen, and toured with them for a while, and that was really fun. Made some records with them, and then moved to LA because I met my wife, or who is now my wife. She wasn't my wife when I met her,
Probably not. Yeah.
but she was living in LA and she was in medical school, and so I went there to try to woo her, and then I joined this band, Fool's Gold, with a bunch of my friends out there, and we toured around for a while, and then I moved back to New York City and started playing with Alex, who had of Yellow Ostrich. We made some records and toured around for a while, so it was just kind of like a lot of that for a long time. And so finally, I was just like, I want to try something else, you know, and just kind of like. So now I haven't been on tour in over 5 years, which is crazy because I was on tour like for most of my time, probably for like 10 years. So this project has just sort of been back to the basics, self-discovery, sort of like trying to create something and live a different kind of lifestyle and approach everything in a new way.
Yeah. What would you say are, you know, kind of some of the biggest things you learned from all the years of touring the world? Like, what did you learn about yourself, I guess would be a good way to put it.
I mean, for one thing, I hadn't really traveled very much until I started touring. Like growing up, my family didn't really travel. We would go and just see relatives whenever there was a vacation or something. We never like went anywhere. And then when I, you know, first got out of college and had a job, you know, I would take all my vacation days to play shows and do short little tours with We Are Scientists. So I hadn't really been anywhere. So it was kind of like a really amazing experience to just travel and see so many places in the world, but for a reason, you know, for a purpose. And and it was sort of just like a survey of everywhere because we were only anywhere for one night, if that. A lot of driving. It's mostly touring is mostly driving and loading in and loading out, and then waiting around. So I got good at those things. I got really good at packing a van very efficiently. All of the gear, like Tetris, fits perfectly. But yeah, no, it's like, and I've since had a really great appreciation for traveling that I never had before. It's like I didn't get tired of traveling, and in fact, it made me just want to go to more places that like you wouldn't go touring. Because when you're on tour in a band, you're kind of going to the same type of places, or at least you're going and interacting with the same type of person.
Yeah, you don't get to see
different
different parts. You may
know.
go to San Francisco, but you don't get to go to, sightseeing and get to see
Right.
the different areas and get to, you have to go to the venue and you're stuck around the venue,
Right.
Generally. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see some stuff, but it sort of like gave me that taste of being like, oh, this is awesome. This place is so cool. I'd love to come back and spend some time and see more of it and learn more about it and stuff. And so in the time since I haven't been touring, my wife and I make it a point to, like, anytime she has time off, we go somewhere, and see something, generally places that we haven't been before, even though so many places we love, and it's like they're on our list to go back again someday, but it's just there's so many places in the world and they're all so unique and special. And so it's sort of, I got like a real thirst for that.
Yeah. Do you still run?
I don't run very much anymore. I kind of like a few years ago, I did. My wife likes to run, or she did. She doesn't run that much anymore. She's been more into like doing yoga and not running based things in recent years. But for a while, she was like running marathons and stuff. And so we ran a half marathon together. I don't know, a few years ago. But I like hurt my foot because I ran too hard.
Yeah.
I did something wrong and came away with like a broken bone in my foot or something. I had to have surgery. So then I haven't really run since then. But the thing is, and running, a cool thing about it is you spend a lot of time alone, but if you get really, and so you can think about things, that's kind of a cool thing. But it also can, if you do it too much, it can really be like lonely. And I personally prefer more like interactive activities, and
Yeah.
I prefer it, when my wife isn't off running for hours and I'm like, hey, where'd she go? I want to hang out with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Well, we kind of have that in common, right? So I did a lot of running myself. The most I ever did was like a half marathon. I never worked up to a full marathon, and this is gonna sound a little cocky, but because I was too fast, like I didn't have that setting, and I'm sure you can kind of relate to pace myself, right?
Yeah.
To be able to do, because I'm like just want to get to the end, right? So
Yeah.
my half marathon was like an hour and 31 minutes or so.
Oh wow, nice.
Something around that. So so I did a handful of those, and then I mean, I did a creative project with running, and I want to touch on something creative you did with your running, but my creative project was I ran every street in Napa, California, the town where I live. Courts, cul-de-sacs, main road, everything, right, over the course of like 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah, it ended up being like 435 miles.
Whoa.
Something like that. So I mean, it was cool, and it was a project. It was like just like, you know, I looked at like this big puzzle and putting a piece in to get and drive to the other side of town and do this chunk and not know exactly how long it's going to be. Maybe it's 10 miles or maybe it's 7, you know, whatever.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
you know, and put it all together as part of this big thing. But your creative thing that you did with running was you would run in the shape of penises.
Wow.
On a couple of occasions.
I mean, yeah, they were more like cock and balls.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, I left it up to the eye of the beholder. You know, I didn't say that I just ran and posted my route onto Instagram, and you know, it's like a Rorschach test. If that's how you say it. If that's what you see. I just saw like a nice running route.
So to me, that's filthy. I understand.
I don't know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, it's all good. It's all good. But I don't run much anymore either. I do. I mean, since COVID, I've done, you know, I got a Peloton and I'm on that all the time. So, so that's my outlet. But, well, Michael, I want to thank you for taking the time to chat. I really dig the new album. It's really creative, and I like where you're going with it. I'm glad you're getting a chance to kind of express yourself in a way that, you know, works for you. And I'm sure you're ready for it to come out next month. So.
Yes, I'm very excited. Thanks so much for calling and chatting.
Absolutely. Yes. Sounds good. You have a good rest of your day, and stay safe through everything, okay?
Thanks.
That was the interview with Practice here on Concert Pipeline. And Jens, that takes us to the final segment on the program. What is it?
It's time to share some music news.
That is right. We have a couple of stories here for you today. We're just going to keep it high level. We've got a couple interesting ones we got to report on. First off, Jens, my first story is about a band that is reuniting for the first time in 22 years. Do you know who they are?
A band who's reuniting for the first time in 22 years.
It's got to be a special occasion to get them to reunite too.
Right. I would think that, you know, it's some milestone, I don't know, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or they're all so old, if they don't have one last tour, they're all going to die. I don't know.
Okay, you did great there. It was awesome. So it is the New Radicals.
New Radicals. Yes. Yeah, cool. What's up with them?
Yes, so they're reuniting for the Biden inauguration parade that is happening. So they're gonna perform their 1998 hit "You Get What You Give." You familiar with that song?
You can't always get what you give.
Yeah.
No, I was so close. No, sorry. I mean, yes, but melody is eluding me.
Yeah, and so are the lyrics apparently. So. You know this one.
Oh, of course. Oh my God, this was on the radio all the time. Yeah, like every 15 minutes they'd play this. I love this song.
Of course you do.
Does not sound like Rolling Stones at all.
No, it doesn't. No, not at all, actually. No. So they're going to reunite. Obviously, they're fans of Biden, and you know, and so they're going to perform that at the Parade Across America event. Their hit single resurfaced in the 2020 campaign trail as the handpicked walk-on song for Vice President-elect's husband, Doug Emhoff, the soon-to-be second gentleman, during the rallies. And if there's one thing on earth that would possibly make us get the band together, if only for a day, it is the hope that our song could be even the tiniest beacon of light in such a dark time, frontman Greg Alexander said in a statement. America knows in its heart that things will get bright again with a new administration and a real plan for vaccines on the way. That's the message of the song. This world is going to pull through. And the hit also had a deep connection with the Biden family. In Joe Biden's 2017 autobiography, Promise Me Dad, he wrote that "You Get What You Give" became the family rallying theme song for son Beau Biden during his battle with cancer. He said, during breakfast, Beau would often make me listen to what I thought was his theme song, "You Get What You Give" by the New Radicals. Biden wrote, even though Beau never stopped fighting and his will to live was stronger than most, I think he knew that this day might come. The words to the song are, "This whole damn world could fall apart. You'll be okay. Follow your heart."
Nice.
And to kind of close that out, Alexander, lead singer, said, performing the song again after such a long time is a huge honor because we all have a deep respect for Beau's military service and such high hopes for the administration. So
nice. Yeah, that's encouraging. I mean, man, that pumped me up. I feel pumped. Like, I can't wait. Is it the 20th yet? Let's get it going. Let's do this.
I know. Yes.
Right.
Let's do it.
Right. And it's nice to know that they are, that they fully support Biden, because at first, when you had said, they support Biden, I was thinking, do they really support Biden, or do they support anyone other than the existing?
There's probably that too, but just knowing that their music is kind of a theme for both levels, the vice presidency and the presidency, like that it had that personal connection. They're like, you know what, we can do this. We can come out of retirement and play our hit from the 90s, right? So
nice, yeah, cool. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Let me share my story. This is a long story, so I'm not going to share the whole thing, but let me just share the first part of it. So all over the news, we've been seeing articles about Phil Spector,
yes,
famed Wall of Sound producer who was convicted of murder. He passed away of natural causes at the age of 81. Yeah,
this is one of those where it's there's not a lot of people that are mourning, probably, in this sense.
Right.
Like, he was not a good person.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. It's one of those. It's kind of hard to process this emotionally, I guess, because he's done some amazing work, right, in his life. He was a murderer, a piece of shit, and thank God he's dead. But look at what he brought to rock and roll. So yeah, kind of a lot of mixed emotions there. So he was the revolutionary producer behind some of pop music's most enduring songs. And he was still in prison when he passed away, so he was still serving his sentence.
I mean, he produced the Beatles' "Let It Be," right? Like, I mean, he's done a lot, and he's left his mark in that regard. But it's I hate to say it, but it's the Michael Jackson syndrome, right? Like, I mean, like, how do you separate it? Can you separate it? Is it okay for us to be able to separate that, right? From the darkness.
Right. Yeah. It's like, oh my God, does anybody go back and watch those old NFL tapes from how awesome O.J. Simpson was, or how awesome those commercials were that he was in? They were hilarious commercials.
The Naked Gun movies.
Movies. Yeah. Right. I mean, look what happened to that guy and what he did.
Yeah, I know.
Sure. During that time before,
Cosby. Oh my God! Right. Like, I mean, these are like America's dad right there, right? I mean, like, there are those that left the biggest mark in the world, and were such a part of people's lives in different ways that you have to, I guess, be able to separate in some capacity.
Right.
From that.
I know. Yeah, it's nuts. So let's see. So he had this specific style, right? The Wall of Sound style. So that revolutionized the way rock music was recorded back in the early 60s. And Let It Be, came out in the 80s, I think? So, or 1970, maybe?
Probably.
So
a long time ago.
Yeah, so his life was tumultuous and ultimately tragic, as groundbreaking, as his studio accomplishments were. Those achievements were all but overshadowed by his 2009 conviction for the murder of an actress, Lana Clarkson. Where was he held? Was he here in our backyard in San Quentin? Where was he?
I'm not sure where they put him.
San Joaquin. San Joaquin.
Oh, was it?
I don't know. It says his official cause of death will be determined by the medical examiner in the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office. So I would assume that it's in San Joaquin County.
They said natural causes, but I Googled it and it says COVID-19 complications while he was serving a sentence at the California Health Care Facility, California State Prison in Stockton.
In Stockton. Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's not too surprising. I mean, the COVID outbreak has been pretty bad, at several
prisons too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's nowhere for it to go there, right? Like other.
How are you going to socially distance in prison? You just stay in your cell indefinitely? Yeah. So that's that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's that. I think that's a good way to end it.
That's that. We could go on for, forever, and talk about his accomplishments back in the day, but I would say let's just move on.
I agree. So Jens, I'm going to close us out with a story about, a great band, a great musician that we love to talk about every week if we can. And that is Mr. Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl. And the Foo Fighters. And we know the Foo Fighters have a new album that they're about to put out next month. So lots of music news from the Foo Fighters on the way. So Bruce Springsteen and Foo Fighters are also joining the celebration at the inauguration. So Foo Fighters will be playing that in the evening of Wednesday. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. But, in Dave Grohl fashion, I got an interesting story for you. And this is about the Foo Fighters releasing their own Japanese sake to celebrate Medicine at Midnight, their new album.
No way. That's cool.
It's one, and the byline is, it's wines like these.
I want to know, Steve, how do we get our hands on some of this?
Well, I'll tell you, there's something else that Foo Fighters are releasing that I want to get my hands on. But they've partnered with the Tadanoka Awa Brewery to release their own Japanese sake to celebrate their forthcoming album. Their 10th studio album set for release on February 5th, with them apparently set to toast to the new record through this partnership. Let's see here. I don't know. 2 types of sake varieties, blue and silver, will be released on February 5th along with the album. And there's, I guess, information online about where you can find it. The website is Tatenokawa, TATENOKAWA.com, where you can check that out and see if you can get some of this Foo Fighters sake.
You're showing me this stuff written in Japanese, tap line. Does it switch into English?
No, but look at the writing. It even says Foo Fighters in
Foo
Japanese.
Fighters. It looks like it says. Yeah, it looks like it says Foo. It does say Foo Fighters.
Yes.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, they just screwed with the Japanese characters to make that look like real words in Japanese.
I know, but
awesome.
All the writing on the page does. You're gonna have to filter through some stuff to try and get some, but that's pretty cool. But what I'm excited about that they're releasing is that they're going to be releasing. They're continuing to mark their 25th anniversary. The band announcing that they've teamed up with Vans to release a special pair of shoes to mark the milestone as well.
Oh, fantastic! Why did they pick shoes? It was it's not like they wrote "Walk This Way" and they need some shoes.
I don't know. I don't have a good pun for that one, but I'm sure that the Vans has been a pivotal point of their career at some point.
There's some significance there. Yeah.
I'm sure there's some significance, and why not make some limited edition Foo Fighters shoes?
That's the best response right there. Why not?
Why
Don't ask
not?
why. Just ask, well, why wouldn't you want to?
I mean, that's what Dave Grohl does, right? So
right. Exactly.
Right.
Respect. Way to go.
Yes.
I'm gonna be sipping some sake. Next time I see a hot tub, I'm gonna be sipping some sake with my Vans.
That's the way to do it. So.
Yep.
All right, Jens. Well, that's our show for today. Another
fantastic,
one in the books.
man.
Yep. So I want to thank wow, I was I was going to say preview, but I want to thank Practice for being on the program, and I'm going to preview the next episode of Concert Pipeline, in which we have an artist named Justin Moses, who's going to be on the program, and he's going to play a song for the pod as well. So
very nice.
Excited for that. We're back in it. We got some new stuff coming. So subscribe to the podcast, like us on the socials, leave a comment on iTunes, all the fun stuff, right? So
sounds good. And Steve, we're really going to hope that I can tell you're losing it right now, and I know your stomach is in the process of eating its intestines because you haven't eaten in like days. And we just really hope to have our host on the show, during the next episode. So
I hope I survive.
We're rooting for you. Yeah.
Appreciate you looking out, man. So for all of us here at Concert Pipeline, that's Jens Schippel.
And that is Steve Jones.
We'll catch you next time.